June 19th, 1865, a gentleman by the name of Gordon Granger from Texas gathered a group of indentured servants from the area and read them a document that had been issued on the 1st of January, 1863 by no other than President Abraham Lincoln. This document was called the Emancipation Proclamation. The proclamation declared that all persons held as slaves within rebellious states are and henceforth shall be free. Now, despite this expansive wording, the Emancipation Proclamation was limited in many ways. It only applied to states that had seceded from the United States, leaving slavery untouched in loyal border states. It also expressly exempted parts of the Confederacy, the Southern secessionist states, that had already come under Northern control. Most importantly, the freedom it promised depended upon the Union or the United States military victory during the Civil War. Now, this proclamation alone was not the ending of slavery as it stood, but it was an important first step in order to introduce what became known as the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which stated, "Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crimes whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction." The amendment was passed by Congress on January 31st, 1865, 2 years and a month after the Emancipation Proclamation was introduced. The amendment was then ratified by the required 27 of the then 36 states on December 6, 1865, and proclaimed on December 18th, nearly another year later. From this statement, we draw two important conclusions. Slavery, while frowned upon, is still constitutionally legal as a punishment for convicted crimes. And the U.S. is really slow when it comes to introducing legislation that changes the narrative for any group not seen as the central benefactors of the American dream. Now, did this solve the issue of slavery in America? Yes, but no. The abolishment of slavery ushered in by the 13th Amendment only made life more difficult for the African people who'd been subjected to it. They were now forced with what to do and where to go in a place that was not their own, nor did they have any way of navigating through it. They weren't taught by the same proper fundamentals, nor were they given a leg up to become something more. In fact, the time after the abolishment of slavery was made even more difficult, with new laws being introduced that would subjectify African people to bondage within the jail system. In addition, most landowners made deals with the same Africans who had worked on their land to keep them working in exchange for housing, so that they didn't lose a dime or progress in production. The African individuals who did have the great fortune of being educated during a time when educating Africans was illegal, traveled west and built their fortune in places like the Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma, also known as Black Wall Street. Unfortunately, many groups would find ways to dismantle the successful growth of these new American settlers. Through dozens of race riots and thousands of lynchings, Black people fought and strived for equality, even when the systems in place made it nearly impossible to be the change they wished to see. But as time goes on and we continue fights for equality and representation, we acknowledge June 19th as the true first day that the idea of freedom was fully introduced to a people who'd known nothing but captivity. While white Americans celebrate the 4th of July, Black Americans celebrate Juneteenth. Now, as mentioned before, the U.S. can be very slow when it comes to progress. So the fact that in 2021, we're just seeing the federal acknowledgement of Juneteenth as a national holiday, while remarkable in its own way, is not lost on any one of us. Symbolic victories are lovely, but on the road to equality and fair treatment, we still have a long way to go. Change only occurs when we are willing to be a part of a fight or conversation that moves it along. And we as BAM Talent utilize our platform to level the playing field for underrepresented voices, but we understand that there's only so much we can do from just the sweat of our brow. It takes a community to do anything of major impact. We hope that you'll remember that we are laying the groundwork for change in West Michigan, and we are working to give voice to the voiceless and skills to those who hunger for more. You can help us by making a contribution to BAM Talent on our website, www.bamtalent.org.